Here's a question for you. How do we calculate the area of just part or a piece of a circle? Well, let's start with what we do know. We do know that we can calculate the area of a whole circle, the full circle, if I know this measurement, the radius, the distance from the middle to the outside. So in this case, it's 8 centimeters. The reason I can calculate the area of the whole circle is because of my formula for the area of a circle, pi times the radius squared. And I just substitute in the value for the radius. And reminder, when we do our substitution, I always like to tell people to make sure they put a little set of brackets where the letter was, so I know the space that I'm going to put the number into. In this case, I'm replacing it with the radius, which was 8. I put that in there, and 8 squared is 64, so I've got 64 times pi, or if you weren't sure, you could type that straight into your scientific calculator as it is, and you're going to get this value rounded off to one decimal place, 201.1 centimeters. Don't forget though the units. It's not centimeters because they're length. We're talking about area, so the units have to be squared. In this case, centimeters squared. That's great. That's the whole circle. Like the whole thing has an area, the space on the inside of that circle of 201.1. But what if I only wanted this yellow piece? Well, I can look at that and go, oh yeah, that's pretty obvious. That's half. That's half of the circle. So guess what? All I need to do to get the area formula is I put a half in front of the formula. So where I had the pi r squared, I'm going to put a half in front of that. So it becomes half times pi times the radius squared, because I only want to keep half the circle. Same deal here. What if I only want to keep a quarter, just the blue piece of the circle? Well, the fraction I'm going to put in front of this formula will be a quarter, because I'm only keeping a quarter of the circle. Quarter times pi times the radius. So if I know the radius, I'm good to go. I can plug them in and I can work out the area for just, say, a half or a quarter. But here's where things get funky. What if I want to work out the area of this sector? Okay, now remember we said that a piece of pie from a circle is called a sector. So when we calculate a piece of a circle, we're actually calculating the area of a sector. Now I can look at that. I don't know if it's a half, a quarter, an eighth. I've got no details. So what I do need to know before I do my calculation is what is the angle that sector makes. Okay, so in this one here would be this area in here, or this angle in here. So in my example, I've got a sector, and I'm told the angle between the two arms, like the two sort of straight bits of the sector, is 15 degrees. Here is where the magic happens. All I need to do to work out the area of that sector, just like we did before, we had a fraction in front of the formula. In this case, it was a half. In this case, I had a quarter. So all I need to do to work out the area of this piece is, first of all, I write my fraction, which in this case is 15 over 360. Now, where does the 360 comes from? It's 360 degrees in a full circle. Like one revolution right around is always made up of 360 degrees. I'm only keeping 15 of those 360. So my fraction will be this angle, 15 over 360. Then I write the rest of my area formula. So I'm actually keeping 15 360ths of the area, if you put it that way. So all I need to know is what's the fraction that goes in front? It's going to be something over 360. The radius I'm not given, so I'm going to need that before I go anywhere else with this. I need to know what my radius is. Well, in this case, we'll use 8, the same as the example over here. And now I can substitute the 8 in where the radius was. I've got my fraction, 15 over 360 times pi times the radius, which we know is 8 squared. You can put that straight into your calculator as it is, and you're going to get a value of 50.3 centimeters squared. All right, awesome. We've just worked out the area of the sector of a circle. Good job. So here is our little summary of all of that. To work out the angle of a sector, if you don't know, if it was a half, that's easy. You could just use a half. If it was like a quarter, you could use a quarter. But if it's some other angle, you need to put that angle over 360 and then times it by our circle area of a circle formula for the whole circle. Right? And that that will get you the answer every time. But there are a couple of little things to watch out for when you're doing these questions. Two little tricks to watch out for. The first one will be, are you given the radius Or in this case, I'm actually given the diameter, right? 12 meters from one side to the other. So before I can use my formula, I need to know this distance, the middle to the edge, which is our radius, which would be half of the diameter. So in this case, I'm going to use 6 in my formula, not the 12. Watch out for that. The last little trick to watch out for, let's say you were asked to work out the area of the shaded sector. Now that looks more like a Pac-Man than a piece of pie, but it's still a sector. It's just a really big one. Imagine a piece of pie, like, you know, a big piece of pie. Now, in this case, we need to use this angle, right? The angle that is inside the piece that we're keeping, in this case, inside the shaded. So it's not actually 55. To work out that angle, I have to take it away from 360 because this bit is 55. Remember, the whole lot in a circle has to add up to 360. So if I take that bit away, I actually get an angle of 305. And that's the angle I'm going to use in my formula. So my fraction would be 305 over 360 times the area formula. All right, good job. You guys are amazing. Good luck with the questions. Hope that all made sense. Well done.